Today, I want to talk about kind of a weird, possibly sensitive topic, and it's about how a bigger company changes its business plans, which potentially screws with their biggest customers, or developers, or partners in general. Let's talk about that. So I'm sure you guys heard of it or have experienced it. For example, like Apple says, hey developers, come develop on our platform, develop on iOS and all that stuff. And people go out and write apps, and then they make their own app and make it built-in or part of operating system, and now everyone's screwed. Or when Microsoft decides to change their file format and you've spent days and days trying to write a code that will parse the existing files and read everything, and then they go out and say, oh yeah, we're not going to support eDiscovery standard, now it's going to be eDiscovery Premium in completely different file format, and you have to spend days and days rewriting it. And this of course happens in eDiscovery too. Companies change directions, they add or remove support for certain things, and people who relied on that are now kind of screwed, and they have to change their business, they have to change how they do things, and understandably, they're upset. For example, we can take a big customer. They could say like, hey, we're your biggest customer. We've been with you since the beginning. We've been beta testing your software. We told you all about bugs. We've been providing industry insight to make sure your software is built well, and we also most likely purchased more licenses than everyone else. And now you're making business decisions that basically exclude us from future plans or making us do something different, and we're not happy about it. We feel like you should honor our relationship and make sure that because we're your biggest customer, our relationship doesn't change in the future. And you can get similar feedback from resellers if company uses those. They'll say, hey, we've been advocating for your company. We've been saying how great you are. We've been telling everyone about your software. We've been selling for you. And collectively between all of us resellers, we basically made your company what it is today. And what you're doing right now is not favorable to our business, and therefore you really shouldn't be doing that. What often happens though is not like a company just goes in and makes a big change right away, but usually they would come out, with announcements saying, hey, our business is going to be going in this direction this year. Next year they're going to say, well, it's a little bit different. And year after it's going to be, well, it's a little different again. And after like 5 years, you see the direction of the message has completely changed. And it makes you wonder like, hey, is this like a normal course of a business where they're just trying to adjust, or they already had a plan to maybe go in one direction and make people think something else and then cut you out later in the process, just like with the iPhone developers. They were looking for the best software to get the better ideas and then take those features and either buy that company or build their own version and implement it. And that was their plan all along. And that makes you feel kind of bad. It feels like you've been possibly lied to or deceived in some way. But if we stop for a minute and do a little bit of thinking, what are we actually asking these companies to do? Are we asking them to stay loyal to their existing customers or partners and not evolve with time? Well, that doesn't seem reasonable. One of the biggest reasons why companies go out of business is because they don't change with time. And if we want that relationship to stay the same over time, we're basically asking these companies not to change, not to evolve, not to go in new directions. And that also doesn't seem very reasonable. I don't really think these companies go out of their way to screw over their partners or customers. What I think happens is they have a team of people who figures out a direction for example, that year. Where should they go? What should they focus on? And then next year, they do another assessment and they focus on new direction. And of course, over time, that direction changes more and more and more, where after 5 to 7 years, it doesn't resemble what it was before. So that, I believe, is how these companies operate. The fact that it is inconvenient to us as partners or customers, that's what it is. There isn't much we can do about that. The other way to look at it is these companies do have to change with time in order to stay relevant, in order to stay in business. Because if they don't, and they're going to be out of business, well, that means all the developer partners, resellers, they're going to be all out of business, and customers will have to find other software to switch to. So yeah, they have to basically inconvenience others and adjust their business model and make sure they communicate properly to everyone's affected to make sure they can adjust their business model as well. I guess the question here is to you. Should companies have loyalty to their customers and resellers and partners, or should they simply navigate with the times? They should just look out what's best for them and do just that, and then they would expect others to change. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you in the next video.